So there's Jake Murphy, right? And if the universe had a sense of humor, which, spoiler alert, it absolutely does, Jake would be Exhibit A. The guy's a maintenance worker on Nexus Prime, which sounds way more impressive than it actually is. Think of it as the galaxy's most expensive zoo, except instead of cute pandas and majestic lions, they've got things that could literally eat reality for breakfast. Jake's about as observant as a brick wall and twice as dense. He's the kind of guy who'd walk into a black hole and complain about the poor lighting. On this particular Tuesday, because of course it's a Tuesday, the universe's favorite day for cosmic jokes, he's trudging through the station's endless corridors with a toolkit that's seen better decades, and a work order that might as well be written in ancient Sumerian, for all the sense it makes to him. Air recycler malfunction in Sector 7, he mutters, squinting at his tablet like it personally insulted his mother. Why can't these things just fix themselves? We've got artificial intelligence that can calculate hyperspace jumps, but nobody thought to make self-repairing air filters. Now, Nexus Prime isn't your average research facility. This place makes maximum security prisons look like daycare centers. It's home to Dr. Vivian Cross, a xenobiologist so uptight she makes military drill sergeants look laid back. She's got 3 doctorates, speaks 14 alien languages, and has never met a safety protocol she didn't want to make even more complicated. Her life's work involves studying creatures that most sane beings would nuke from orbit just to be safe. Then there's Commander Rex Bolton, the station's security chief and professional paranoid. This guy treats a coffee spill like a potential biohazard incident, and a minor system glitch like the opening move in an alien invasion. He's got enough weapons stockpiled to level a small moon and the trigger discipline of a caffeinated squirrel. His favorite phrase is, "better safe than sorry," which he usually follows up with, "lock it down and shoot first." The station itself is a marvel of galactic engineering, multiple containment levels, each more secure than the last, housing specimens that would give Lovecraft nightmares. The outer rings contain your basic dangerous aliens, the ones that only want to dissolve your bones or feast on your terror. The middle sections hold the really nasty stuff. Planet killers, reality benders, things that exist in dimensions your brain can't process. And at the very center, in maximum security containment that would make Fort Knox weep with envy, lives something so dangerous that just thinking about it requires a security clearance. Jake naturally has absolutely no idea about any of this. His security badge gets him access to maintenance areas, the cafeteria, and the break room vending machine that occasionally eats his credits. He knows there are science experiments happening on the station, but he figures they're probably growing space vegetables or testing new types of toilet paper. The extent of his curiosity about alien life forms is wondering why the janitorial staff keeps leaving slime trails in the corridors. So when Jake takes a wrong turn at Corridor Junction 7 Alpha, because who designed this place, a drunk mathematician? He doesn't think twice about it. The hallway looks exactly like every other hallway on this chrome-plated maze. Same sterile walls, same humming lights, same air that tastes like it's been recycled through a robot's lungs. What he doesn't notice is the gradual increase in warning signs, the subtle shift from authorized personnel only to extreme caution to may God have mercy on your soul. He walks right past blast doors that could withstand a supernova and security scanners that are frantically trying to figure out how someone with his clearance level ended up in a sector that technically doesn't exist on public station maps. Sector 7, Sector 7, Jake mumbles, checking door numbers that stopped making sense about 3 security checkpoints ago. Why do they number these things like a puzzle designed by sadists? And that's when Jake finds the door. Not just any door, mind you, but the door. The kind of door that has more warning labels than a radioactive waste dump, and enough security locks to make a bank vault jealous. If doors could scream, this one would be having a nervous breakdown. But Jake? Jake sees a maintenance access panel next to it and thinks, finally, something that makes sense. He swipes his badge, which shouldn't work but somehow does, because the universe loves a good punchline, and the massive blast door starts grinding open with all the enthusiasm of a tomb being unsealed. The first thing that hits him is the smell. Imagine a swamp that's been marinating in existential dread for about 1,000 years, with hints of ozone and something that might be regret. Most people would turn around and run screaming at this point. Jake wrinkles his nose and thinks, the ventilation system needs work. Hello? He calls out because apparently his survival instincts died in a tragic irony accident years ago. Maintenance here. Got a work order for an air recycler? The containment chamber is roughly the size of a football stadium and it's dark. Not regular dark, but the kind of dark that seems to have weight and opinions. Emergency lighting casts eerie red shadows that dance like they're trying to warn him about something very important and very immediate. That's when he sees it. The Void Ripper is exactly as advertised in the Things That Will End Your Existence in Creative Ways catalog. Picture a cross between a giant octopus, a black hole, and your worst nightmare, then multiply by cosmic horror. It's got tentacles the size of subway cars, each one lined with what look like eyes but are actually something much worse. Its main body pulses with an inner darkness that makes regular darkness feel cheerful and optimistic. This thing has a resume that reads like a greatest hits album of galactic genocides. The Altar Colony? Gone. The crystal cities of Zephron Prime? Reduced to glittering dust. The proud warrior race of the Korthak Empire? They don't even have ruins left to mark their passing. Jake looks at this cosmic abomination and his first thought is, wow, that's a big squid thing. His second thought is, it looks hungry. Now, normal people keep emergency supplies in their toolkit. Medical supplies, communication devices, weapons-grade prayer books. Jake keeps snacks. Specifically, he's got half a ham sandwich left over from lunch, wrapped in foil and slightly squished from being in his toolkit. Hey there, big guy, Jake says, approaching the creature like it's a stray cat instead of a reality-devouring nightmare. You look like you could use a snack? The Void Ripper freezes. In its eons of existence, across countless worlds and dimensions, it has encountered every form of life imaginable. It has been worshipped as a god, feared as a demon, studied as a specimen, and attacked by every weapon in the known universe. But never, not once, has anyone offered it a sandwich. Jake tears off a piece of ham and tosses it toward the creature. Here you go, buddy. It's not much, but the cafeteria mystery meat gets old pretty quick. One of the tentacles, each one capable of crushing a battleship, delicately picks up the small piece of processed meat. The Void Ripper examines it with senses that can perceive dimensions beyond human comprehension, then carefully, almost reverently, consumes it. And something happens that hasn't occurred in the creature's multi-millennial existence. It experiences kindness. Not fear, not worship, not scientific curiosity, but simple, uncomplicated kindness from a being who has absolutely no idea what he's dealing with. The effect is immediate and catastrophic. Every alarm on the station starts screaming at once. Security klaxons wail like banshees with dental problems. Emergency lights strobe in patterns that would give epileptics nightmares. The station's AI, which has seen some stuff in its time, starts broadcasting warnings in 17 languages plus 2 that haven't been invented yet. Containment breach. Containment breach. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Also, who the hell authorized access to maximum security? Jake looks around at the chaos, then back at the Void Ripper, which has somehow managed to express gratitude using only cosmic horror anatomy. Well, that can't be good, he says with the kind of understatement that would make British people weep with pride. Commander Bolton and his security team arrive in full battle gear, expecting to find Jake's component atoms scattered across several dimensions. Instead, they find him sitting cross-legged on the floor, sharing the rest of his sandwich with a creature that once devoured an entire solar system because it was bored on a Tuesday. "Murphy!" Bolton screams through his helmet's speaker. "What in the name of all that's holy did you do?" Jake looks up, confused. "I fed him. He looked hungry. Don't worry, I've got plenty more where that came from. The cafeteria was having a special on ham today." And that's when Dr. Cross arrives, tablet in hand, ready to document what she assumes will be the station's final moments. Instead, she witnesses something that will redefine xenobiology as a field and probably require her to rewrite her doctoral thesis. The most dangerous creature in the known galaxy is purring. Actually purring, like a cat the size of a city block. "This is impossible," Dr. Cross whispers, her tablet trembling in her hands as she records what might be the first documented case of a cosmic horror having a good day. The Void Ripper species doesn't form attachments. They don't even acknowledge other life forms as anything more than potential snacks or mild inconveniences. Jake, meanwhile, is completely oblivious to the historical significance of the moment. He's too busy scratching what he assumes is the creature's chin, though it might actually be a sensory organ capable of perceiving the heat death of the universe. "Who's a good boy?" Jake coos, apparently under the impression that baby talk works across all species barriers. Yes, you are, Nibbles." "Nibbles?" Commander Bolton's voice cracks so hard it could shatter glass. "You named the galaxy's most feared predator Nibbles?" "Well, he was nibbling the sandwich," Jake explains with the kind of logic that makes perfect sense if you don't think about it too hard. Seemed appropriate. Better than calling him "Hey you" all the time. The creature, now apparently Nibbles, responds to its new name by producing a sound that's somewhere between a whale song and the universe having an existential crisis. To Jake, it sounds friendly. To everyone else, it sounds like reality is filing a complaint with management. Dr. Cross is frantically scribbling notes. Unprecedented interspecies bonding. Subject appears to have imprinted on human male. Designation Jake Murphy. Maintenance worker, security clearance level 3, apparently allergic to common sense. I can hear you, you know, Jake says without looking up from where he's now playing what appears to be peekaboo with a tentacle the size of a subway car. Bolton is on his comm, practically hyperventilating. Command, we have a situation. The Void Ripper has its... Murphy fed it and now it thinks he's its... I don't know what the hell it thinks he is, but it won't leave him alone. As if to prove his point, Nibbles extends another tentacle and gently pats Jake on the head with enough force to level a small building, but controlled so precisely that it barely musses his hair. Jake grins and pats the tentacle back. See, he's friendly. I don't know why everyone was so worried about him. He's probably just been lonely in here all by himself. Jake looks around the containment chamber. No wonder he was grumpy. This place is depressing. No windows, no entertainment, no snacks. It's like solitary confinement for cosmic entities. Dr. Cross drops her tablet. It takes her 3 tries to pick it up because her hands won't stop shaking. Jake, this creature has been responsible for the extinction of entire civilizations. The hegemony wars, the great silence of Sector 12, the reason we don't talk about what happened to the Epsilon colony, that was all him. Jake considers this information with the same level of concern most people reserve for mild weather updates. Well, that doesn't sound very nice. But maybe he was just having a bad millennium, you know? Everyone gets cranky when they're hungry. As if understanding the conversation, Nibbles produces what might be an apologetic rumble and gently nudges Jake with a tentacle that could crush a battleship, but treats him like he's made of the most delicate glass in the universe. I'm telling you, he's reformed, Jake insists. Look at him. When's the last time you saw a galaxy-destroying monster look this happy? It's true. Despite the alien nature of its anatomy, there's something unmistakably content about the Void Ripper's posture. Its tentacles, which according to the files are usually writhing with barely contained apocalyptic rage, are now curled up like a cat, sleeping in a sunbeam. Bolton keys his comm again. Station command, we need immediate evacuation protocols. And probably a priest. Maybe several priests. Do we have any priests on staff? Commander, Dr. Cross interrupts, her scientific mind warring with her survival instincts. I think we need to observe this phenomenon. This could be the breakthrough we've been looking for in interspecies relations. The breakthrough we've been looking for is how to kill these things, not how to make friends with them. Jake stands up and dusts off his maintenance coveralls. Well, I hate to break up this fascinating scientific discussion, but I've still got that air recycler to fix. Come on, Nibbles, want to see the rest of the station? The reaction is immediate and horrifying. Nibbles perks up like a dog hearing the word walkies and starts moving toward the exit. Every sensor in the containment chamber starts screaming warnings about containment failure. No! Bolton and Dr. Cross shout simultaneously. But it's too late. Nibbles, moving with surprising grace for something the size of a small spacecraft, follows Jake out of the containment chamber and into the corridor. The blast doors, designed to contain cosmic horrors, might as well be made of tissue paper for all the good they do. This is fine, Jake says, apparently the only person on the station not having a complete nervous breakdown. He's house-trained, right? Behind them, emergency klaxons are wailing, security teams are mobilizing, and Dr. Cross is having what might be the most important panic attack in scientific history. Nibbles, for his part, seemed delighted to finally see something other than the inside of a containment cell. His tentacles explore the corridor with curious, gentle touches, like a tourist seeing the sights. When a maintenance drone buzzes by, he watches it with the fascination of a cat watching a laser pointer. See? Jake says to the growing crowd of terrified personnel following at what they hope is a safe distance. He's practically domesticated. I bet by next week we'll have him fetching slippers and playing dead. Won't we, boy? Nibbles responds with what might be agreement, or possibly the sound of several dimensions folding in on themselves. At this point, nobody's really sure there's a difference. 3 hours later, Admiral Patricia Stone arrives with enough firepower to glass a small planet, and the kind of attitude that suggests she's seriously considering using it. Her flagship, the Righteous Fury, drops out of hyperspace, with all the subtlety of a brick through a window, followed by a battle group that could probably take on the entire Galactic Navy and ask for seconds. Stone is the kind of military officer who treats diplomatic solutions as a four-letter word and believes that most problems can be solved with bigger explosions. She's got more medals than a dictator's dress uniform and a reputation for making hard decisions that usually involve turning things into radioactive glass. "Status report," she barks as she storms onto the station, her combat boots making sounds like small artillery strikes on the deck plating. Commander Bolton snaps to attention so fast he nearly gives himself whiplash. "Admiral, the situation is complicated." "Complicated how?" "Either the creature is contained or it isn't. Either we have a problem or we don't." "Well, technically it's not contained, but it's also not exactly a problem, per se." Stone's expression could freeze helium. "Commander, I've just brought 14 battleships, 6 heavy cruisers, and enough orbital bombardment platforms to crack this station like an egg. The entire sector is under quarantine. 3 different alien governments are demanding explanations, and the Galactic Council is having emergency sessions about whether to declare this system a total loss. So when I ask for a status report, I want facts, not philosophical debates about the nature of problems." That's when Jake walked by in the corridor visible through the observation window, Nibbles trailing behind him like a cosmic horror version of a golden retriever. The galaxy's most feared predator is carrying Jake's toolkit in one of its tentacles, apparently having appointed itself as an assistant. Admiral Stone stares for a full 30 seconds. Her left eye starts twitching. "That," she says in the voice of someone discovering that reality has filed for bankruptcy, "is a human maintenance worker walking a Void Ripper like it's a pet." "Yes, ma'am, that's Jake Murphy. He fed it a sandwich and now they're friends." Stone turns to Dr. Cross, who's been documenting everything with the desperate intensity of someone who knows she's witnessing history but isn't sure if it's the good kind or the apocalyptic kind. "Doctor, in your professional opinion, has that man somehow weaponized the most dangerous creature in known space?" Dr. Cross looks up from her notes, her hair disheveled and her lab coat stained with stress, sweat, and spilled coffee. "Admiral, I've been studying xenobiology for 15 years. I have 3 doctorates and have published over 200 papers on interspecies behavior, and I can say with complete scientific certainty that I have absolutely no idea what's happening here." "That's not reassuring, Doctor." "It gets worse. The creature, Jake calls it Nibbles, appears to have developed genuine affection for him. Not dominance, not pack bonding, not symbiosis. Affection. It's been following him around all day, helping with his maintenance duties, and showing protective behavior when other personnel get too close." Stone's other eye starts twitching. Protective behavior? When Lieutenant Morrison approached Jake, too quickly this morning, the creature positioned itself between them and made a sound that registered on our equipment as a warning. Morrison backed off, and the creature immediately returned to what can only be described as a happy demeanor. Through the window, they watch Jake explaining something to Nibbles, gesturing with his hands, while the creature listens with what appears to be rapt attention. One of its tentacles is holding a wrench, another is steadying a maintenance panel, and a third is gently patting Jake's shoulder in what looks suspiciously like encouragement. "He's teaching it basic maintenance procedures," Bolton says, in the tone of someone reporting that gravity has decided to work sideways. Admiral Stone closes her eyes and counts to 10 in 3 different languages. When she opens them, the situation hasn't improved. "Options," she says. "We could try to separate them," Dr. Cross suggests hesitantly. "But every time we've attempted to get Jake away from the creature, it becomes agitated. Not violent exactly, but concerned. It starts making sounds that register on our instruments as distress calls." "What kind of distress calls?" "The kind that, according to our database, historically precede planetary extinctions." Stone looks out the window again. Jake is now sitting cross-legged on the floor, sharing what appears to be a bag of chips with Nibbles, who is delicately taking them one at a time, with a tentacle that could probably lift a starship. "And if we tried to remove the creature from the station?" Commander Bolton shifts uncomfortably. "We ran simulations. The creature's attachment appears to be specifically to Jake Murphy. Removing it from his proximity could trigger a defensive response, and by defensive response I mean the kind that turns star systems into debris fields." "So let me understand this," Stone says slowly. "We have a creature capable of galactic genocide that has apparently decided a maintenance worker is its emotional support human, and separating them could result in the kind of tantrum that makes supernovas look like birthday candles." "That's actually a very accurate assessment, Admiral." Stone starts pacing, her boots marking time like a countdown to disaster. The Galactic Council is breathing down my neck. 3 different species have declared this system a no-fly zone. The insurance companies are already writing this station off as a total loss. And you're telling me that our only hope of preventing an interstellar incident is to keep feeding sandwiches to a cosmic horror? That's when the proximity alarms start screaming again. Not the gentle warning alarms they've been dealing with all day, but the real ones. The kind that suggest incoming trouble with capital letters and possibly nuclear punctuation. Admiral, the communications officer's voice crackles over the intercom. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Korthak Defense Fleet. They're demanding immediate surrender of what they're calling the stolen weapon of mass extinction. They've got 12 dreadnoughts on approach, and they're charging weapons. Stone's expression goes from frustrated to deadly calm in about half a second. Time to intercept? 18 minutes. Through the observation window, Jake notices the increased activity and looks up from his impromptu picnic. He waves cheerfully at the command staff, apparently thinking they're just saying hello. Nibbles, picking up on the tension in the station, starts to uncurl from its relaxed position. And that's when everyone realizes that a happy Void Ripper is terrifying, but a concerned Void Ripper is the kind of thing that requires new words for fear. "Oh," Dr. Cross whispers, watching her instruments spike into ranges that shouldn't exist. "This is very, very bad." Nibbles is moving now, flowing through the corridors toward the source of the tension, with Jake riding on what might be its back, still completely oblivious to the fact that he's now mounted on a weapon of mass destruction that's decided someone might be threatening its favorite human. Admiral Stone reaches for her comm. "All ships, battle stations, and somebody get me a direct line to those Korthak idiots. We need to explain the situation before they do something that gets us all killed." What do we tell them? Stone looks out at Jake, who's now pointing excitedly at something through a viewport, while Nibbles positions itself between him and the approaching threat, every tentacle beginning to glow with energies that make her radiation detectors have nervous breakdowns. "Tell them," she says grimly, "that they're about to find out why you should never threaten someone's pet." The Korthak fleet drops out of hyperspace like a pack of angry wasps, their dreadnoughts bristling with enough weaponry to sterilize a continent. Admiral Stone's been in firefights before, but she's never had to worry about collateral damage that could potentially unravel the fabric of space-time. "Korthak Fleet, this is Admiral Stone of the Terran Defense Force. You are entering a quarantine zone. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response comes back in heavily accented Galactic Standard, delivered with the kind of arrogance that suggests the speaker has never met a problem they couldn't solve by shooting it. "Human Admiral, you possess stolen Korthak property. The Void Ripper was taken from our territory during the Hegemony Wars. We demand its immediate return, along with compensation for 3 centuries of lost strategic advantage." Stone looks at her tactical display, where 12 massive alien warships are arranging themselves in an attack formation that could reduce Nexus Prime to its component atoms. "Korthak Commander, I'm going to explain this once, slowly, because I want to make sure you understand. That creature is not your property anymore. It has formed an attachment to one of our personnel, and separating them could result in what our scientists politely call a galaxy-ending tantrum." "You lie, human. The Void Ripper knows only destruction. We will reclaim our weapon and use it to restore Korthak dominance over this sector." That's when Jake's voice crackles over the intercom from somewhere in the station's depths. "Hey, who are these guys on the view screen? They look grumpy. Did someone not get their morning coffee?" Through the command center's monitors, they can see Jake in one of the observation lounges, pressed against the viewport like a kid at an aquarium, watching the Korthak fleet with curiosity rather than terror. Nibbles is coiled around him protectively, but Jake seems to think it's just being friendly. "Jake," Dr. Cross says over the comm, trying to keep her voice calm, "those ships belong to the Korthak Empire. They're here to visit Nibbles." "Oh, cool. Are they friends of his? Hey Nibbles, do you know these guys?" The response is immediate and terrifying. Every tentacle on the Void Ripper suddenly goes rigid, and the creature produces a sound that makes the station's hull ring like a struck bell. It's not the happy rumbling they've grown accustomed to. This is the sound of something remembering old wounds and older rage. "Augmented Uppo," Jake says, apparently the only person in the galaxy capable of treating an enraged cosmic horror as a minor social inconvenience. "Nibbles doesn't seem to like them very much. Did they maybe forget to call first?" On the tactical display, every sensor on the Korthak ship starts going haywire. Energy readings spike beyond the scale, and their flagship's commander comes back on the comm with considerably less arrogance in his voice. "What? What is that energy signature? Our instruments are detecting power levels that shouldn't be possible." Admiral Stone smiles, and it's not a nice smile. That, Commander, is what happens when you threaten someone's emotional support human. Nibbles there has been having a lovely day, learning basic maintenance procedures and enjoying ham sandwiches. But apparently, he remembers you folks. And judging by his reaction, the memories aren't fond ones. Through the viewport, Jake is patting what appears to be the creature's main sensory cluster, speaking in soothing tones. Hey, it's okay, big guy. I know they're not very polite, but maybe they just don't know how to make friends properly. Some people are like that. The effect is immediate. Nibbles' energy output drops from planet killer to merely city leveling, which everyone agrees is a significant improvement. Dr. Cross, who's been frantically taking notes throughout the crisis, suddenly looks up with the expression of someone who's just solved a puzzle that's been bothering them for months. Admiral, I think I understand what's happening here. The Void Ripper species wasn't naturally aggressive. They were weaponized. The Korthak Empire captured them, isolated them, used them as tools of war. They turned a potentially social species into living weapons through centuries of abuse and manipulation. You're saying Nibbles wasn't born a monster? I'm saying Jake is the first being in possibly millennia to treat one of these creatures with simple kindness. No wonder it bonded with him. He's literally the first friend it's ever had. On the comm, Jake's voice comes through again, still talking to Nibbles like he's calming a nervous dog. Look, I know these guys were mean to you before, but that doesn't mean we have to be mean back. How about we show them how friendly you can be when people treat you right? Maybe they'll learn something. Admiral Stone stares at the tactical display, where the most feared predator in known space is gradually powering down its reality-warping abilities, because a maintenance worker asked it nicely. Korthak, Commander, she says into her comm. I'm gonna make you an offer. You can witness something that's never happened before in recorded galactic history, or you can keep making threats and find out why the Void Ripper species has such a terrible reputation. Your choice. There's a long pause before the Korthak commander responds, his voice considerably more subdued. What? What do you propose? Jake, Stone calls over the station intercom. Would you mind bringing Nibbles to Docking Bay 7? We have some visitors who need to learn about proper interspecies etiquette. 20 minutes later, the Korthak delegation steps off their shuttle into a docking bay, where a human maintenance worker is playing what appears to be fetch with a cosmic horror using a maintenance drone. Jake tosses the drone. Nibbles gently catches it with a tentacle and returns it without crushing it into scrap metal. The Korthak commander, a towering reptilian figure covered in enough battle scars to stock a military museum, stares in disbelief. This is impossible. The Void Ripper is a weapon of pure destruction. It knows only rage and hunger. Jake looks up from where he's scratching behind what might be Nibbles' ear. Well, yeah, if you keep something locked up and never show it any kindness, it's probably going to be pretty cranky. But look at him now. He's learned to play fetch, he helps with maintenance work, and yesterday he figured out how to operate the coffee machine. Sure, he's still got some issues with portion control, but who doesn't? To demonstrate, Jake pulls out another sandwich from his ever-present lunch bag. Nibbles delicately takes it with a tentacle that once cracked planets, and nibbles it with the care of someone handling a priceless artifact. Dr. Cross steps forward, her tablet documenting everything. Commander, what you're witnessing is the first recorded case of rehabilitation in a Void Ripper. This creature isn't naturally destructive. It was traumatized by centuries of abuse. Jake here has managed to provide it with something it never had before. Unconditional friendship. The Korthak commander looks between Jake and Nibbles, his warrior's mindset struggling to process what he's seeing. But it destroyed entire worlds for us. It was our greatest weapon. And now it's my friend, Jake says simply. Funny how much difference that makes. Nibbles, as if understanding the conversation, extends a tentacle toward the Korthak commander. Not threateningly, but in what appears to be an offer of greeting. The commander stares at it for a long moment. Then slowly, carefully, extends his own clawed hand. The touch is gentle, almost reverent. For the first time in its existence, the Void Ripper is making peaceful contact with a member of the species that once enslaved it. Admiral Stone watches the historical moment unfold and keys her comm to the fleet. All ships stand down. Looks like we're going to need to update the first contact protocols. 6 months later, Jake Murphy has the most ridiculous job title in galactic history. Chief Xenobiological Relations Specialist, Level 12, with security clearance that technically doesn't exist, and a salary that makes Admiral Stone's accountant cry into his spreadsheets. His office is located in what used to be the maximum security containment wing, except now it's been remodeled into what can only be described as the galaxy's most expensive pet daycare center. The blast doors have been replaced with regular doors, Well, reinforced regular doors, because some of the residents still have impulse control issues, and someone has installed what appears to be the universe's largest doggy door. Jake's morning routine now involves checking in on 17 different species of formerly apocalyptic creatures, all of whom have apparently decided that if being nice worked out so well for Nibbles, they should probably give it a try too. "Morning, chompers," Jake says cheerfully to what the files still insist on calling a galactic devourer, even though it now spends most of its time learning to knit with its smaller tentacles. "How's the scarf coming along?" Chompers, who once ate an entire moon because someone looked at him funny, proudly displays a lopsided purple creation that might charitably be called textile art. Jake examines it with the enthusiasm of a parent viewing their child's macaroni sculpture. "That's beautiful work. I think Dr. Cross would love one for her birthday next month. What do you think?" The creature that once inspired 3 different species to develop planet-killing weapons makes a sound that roughly translates to, "I would be honored to create knitwear for the nice scientist lady." Dr. Cross herself has been having the best and worst 6 months of her career simultaneously. Her research papers are being published faster than she can write them. Her theories are revolutionizing xenobiology across 12 sectors, and she's been nominated for every scientific award in known space. She's also developed a stress twitch from constantly updating safety protocols for creatures that now insist on helping with their own medical checkups. "Jake," she calls from her new lab, which has been relocated to accommodate her expanded research team, and the fact that several of her test subjects like to peek over her shoulder while she works. "Could you ask Nibbles to stop reorganizing my specimens? I appreciate that he's trying to help, but alphabetical order by species name doesn't really work when half of these creatures don't technically exist in our dimension." "Sure thing, Doc," Jake calls back. He turns to Nibbles, who is currently coiled around the lab's main console like a cosmic horror version of a house cat. "Hey buddy, Dr. Cross says the specimen jars are fine where they are. How about you help me with the new arrivals instead?" The new arrivals are Jake's pride and joy, a collection of baby void drippers that were discovered in a derelict Korthak prison ship. They're about the size of subway cars and have the temperament of puppies who happen to be capable of folding space-time into origami shapes. "Okay, kids," Jake says to the group of juvenile reality benders who are currently playing what appears to be interdimensional tag, "time for lunch. And remember, we use our inside tentacles in the cafeteria." The baby void drippers line up with the discipline of kindergartners who really want their juice boxes. Jake leads them through the station corridors, past personnel who have gotten used to the sight of cosmic horrors, following the maintenance guy like a line of deadly ducklings. Commander Bolton, who has somehow managed to adapt his paranoid worldview to accommodate the new reality, watches from his security station. His weapons lockers are still fully stocked, but these days he's more likely to deploy stern warnings about proper tentacle hygiene than plasma cannons. "Murphy," he calls over the intercom, "remind the new kids about the no phasing through walls rule. Engineering is still finding tentacle prints in the power conduits." "You got it, Commander." Jake waves to the security camera, then turns to his charges. "You heard the man. Solid matter only in the corridors. Save the interdimensional stuff for the playground." The cafeteria has been renovated to accommodate beings whose dietary requirements range from standard proteins, to the existential despair of their enemies, to just happy to be included. The kitchen staff, led by Chef Martinez, who somehow manages to create nutritionally balanced meals for creatures that technically exist in 11 dimensions, has adapted with the flexibility of people who have completely given up on normal. "Today's special is quantum pasta with uncertainty sauce," Martinez announces as Jake and his group arrive. "And for our friends with more exotic tastes, we've got a lovely dark matter reduction that pairs beautifully with the screams of the void." Nibbles, who has appointed himself as Jake's permanent assistant and bodyguard, helps distribute meals with the precision of a being who has learned that proper portion control is the difference between feeding time and accidental station destruction. After lunch, Jake's afternoon is scheduled with what the official reports call therapeutic recreation activities, but what everyone else calls teaching cosmic horrors to play nice. Today's activity is arts and crafts, which has become surprisingly popular among beings who can manipulate matter at the molecular level, but have never been allowed to make anything that wasn't expressly designed to end civilizations. "Remember," Jake tells the group gathered in what used to be a weapons testing facility and is now the station's art room, "we're making friendship bracelets today. The key word there is friendship. No incorporeal materials, no temporal paradoxes, and definitely no materials that exist primarily as mathematical concepts. a creature that looks like a cross between a giant squid and a bad acid trip, raises what might be a tentacle. What about materials that exist as musical concepts? It asks in a voice like whale song mixed with existential dread. Jake considers this seriously. As long as they don't require a doctorate in theoretical physics to wear, I think we're good. 2 hours later, Jake is wearing approximately 47 friendship bracelets made from materials that probably violate several laws of physics but look really pretty in the station's artificial lighting. Dr. Cross has added xenobiological craft therapy to her research proposals. Commander Bolton has updated the safety protocols to include no weaponizing art supplies, and the formerly most feared creatures in the galaxy are comparing color choices with the enthusiasm of teenagers at summer camp. Admiral Stone, who visits monthly to check on what her reports describe as the ongoing containment miracle, finds Jake in his office at the end of the day. He's filling out paperwork, requisition forms for specialized food, environmental reports, and what appears to be a request for a bigger play area for the baby voidrippers. "Murphy," she says, settling into the reinforced chair across from his desk, "do you have any idea what you've accomplished here?" Jake looks up from a form requesting permission to install interdimensional jungle gyms, considering the question with his characteristic obliviousness to his own significance. "I mean, I fixed that air recycler that was making the weird noise, and I got the coffee machine in Sector 12 working again. Oh, and Nibbles learned how to play chess, which is pretty cool, even though he keeps trying to move pieces through the fourth dimension." Stone looks out the office window, where Nibbles is visible in the recreation area, carefully supervising a group of baby cosmic horrors, who are building what appears to be a sandcastle made of crystallized time. "Jake, you've single-handedly prevented what could have been the greatest catastrophe in galactic history. You've revolutionized xenobiology, redefined our understanding of interspecies relations, and somehow turned the most feared predators in known space into the galaxy's friendliest pet therapy program." Jake follows her gaze and smiles. "Yeah, but mostly I just made some friends. Turns out that's what they wanted all along, someone to treat them like they mattered instead of like they were just weapons or monsters or things to be afraid of." Outside, Nibbles notices Jake watching and waves a tentacle in greeting. The baby voidrippers look up from their impossible sandcastle and wave too, their tentacles creating patterns in the air that somehow manage to look cheerful despite defying three-dimensional space. "Besides," Jake adds, turning back to his paperwork, "it's not like I did anything special. I just shared my lunch. Anyone could have done that." Admiral Stone looks at the man who accidentally saved the galaxy by being nice to something that scared everyone else, and realizes that Jake Murphy might be the most dangerous human in existence. Not because he can destroy worlds, but because he can't imagine why anyone would want to. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she makes a note to have the recruitment department start looking for more maintenance workers, with Jake's particular brand of oblivious compassion. Because if there's one thing the galaxy needs more of, it's people who treat cosmic horrors like they're just friends they haven't met yet. The universe, it turns out, has a sense of humor after all. It just took a guy named Jake and a ham sandwich to prove it.